Okay, hello everyone. Hi, Unlimited Wisdom family and members and friends. I appreciate you. Hi, Melody. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Mary. Hi, Deborah Grady. Hi, Coach Bob, Lisa Marie, my lovely wife, Terry, and the hostess with the mostest, Craig Jackman. And today's title is our subject or whatever is hi, Dustin. I've done it before. It's one of the things that altered and changed my mindset, similar to figuring out like yesterday that I was a miracle. And this one is titled, How Do You Know That? How do you know that? And the first thing that I'll say at the beginning is because there's another one that I'm going to write down. I told myself I already got set up what I'm going to do tomorrow. Hi, Shelley, so we're told certain things, and it's hilarious how all of us just follow those beliefs. There's a saying out there that it's not something that's holding us back. People, if you really, really understand psychology, and honestly, the way that I believe that spirituality works is that everything usually is the opposite of what you think. The opposite of what you think. So when you think, how do you know that? My biggest aha moments that people thought, well, what is the biggest aha moment? What is the biggest moment you had that, you thought something was one way and then you found out it wasn't another way? And here was one of the biggest ones for me, and it's pretty obvious, is the day that I realized that the way that you get money into your household, you could do it doing something other than a job. And when you think about how much, again, you become who you hang around. And it's fun when you use parables and examples and theoreticals and stuff like this, because a lot of you, hi Star, hi Scott, I hope you heard me, Shelley, is that it really comes down to that one whole thing where, the right away, I remember my mentor asking me, he said, so what do you want to do? And because of where I was financially, I remember like yesterday saying, I need to get a job. And the reason I did is because I was on workman's comp, but because of the injury that I had, they had, rules back then to stay on workman's comp. You needed to prove that you actually went to a couple of jobs and tried to get a job. So you either had two choices: to continue to go out and do applications to find a job to get your, whopping $900 a month, or what you needed to do is you had to prove to them that you're going to school to learn a new career. Okay? So I really needed that $900. And I know you guys know a lot of people like, hey. So I remember saying I needed a job. And so, throughout all my years of doing this, entrepreneurship, for almost 38 years, it'll be 38 years in November, is like really mentally in my head when I'm talking to an individual, especially if they recently got fired or laid off or didn't have a job. I would share with them this incredible opportunity of being an entrepreneur and making more money than they've ever made in their life. And their response to me would be, well, I can focus on that right after I get a job. Do you guys understand what I'm talking about? So this is, pretty wired in our head that you got to go to school, get good grades, so you then can go to college and get more schooling. And Terry and I were talking about this in the car. I don't know if you guys have actually done any research on this, but my mentor, I could tell that he did research, but there was someone above him, Larry Huff and Larry Thompson, that drilled in his head this stuff. And one of the biggest things that really play with your mind is when someone knows facts that you don't know. And all of a sudden they say something like this. Well, you do know who started the education system, don't you? It's like, started the education system. And it's like, yeah, the Rockefeller family, one of the wealthiest families in the world. And you're like, they started it? Yeah, well, they started it because they wanted to train people how to be good employees. What? Yeah, get up early, get on public transportation, or drive to your work. Make sure you clock in on time. Bell goes off, got to be punched in. Then we're going to tell you when you get to take a break, recess. Then we're going to tell you when you can go to lunch and how long you can have a lunch, followed by another break. And then we're going to do a bell or a whistle when it's time for you to check out and then get in public transportation or your own transportation and drive home. And just repeat this over and over and over again. Instead of grades, we'll give a paycheck. We'll have you constantly come in to get reviewed for promotions. You got to do extra training to get promotions. So as he was saying this to me, I was like, huh? Yeah, Robert, the education system is all designed to make you a very good employee. And I was like, how many of you, when you hear stuff like this, your very first thought in your mind is like, that's bullshit. It's like there's nothing worse than realizing that you bought into a belief. And when you bought into that belief, that you didn't even know that belief existed. Now, I won't get into it. Hi, Jim. Thanks for jumping on here. But the last I looked, there was 460,000 registered nonprofits that call themselves religion. Do you think that any of them have like this kind of system set up? Like school? Well, of course they do. You know what I mean? And so it's very, very interesting when you really, really think about it that this is just the way things are. And I knew that I could just roll with this. One of the most dangerous statements are things that ever said was the most dangerous statement is this is the way it's always been done. People just don't want to change things. So this is the way it goes. This is the way it happens. And so for all of you that have this thought, think about this thought. Wake up, Bob. Okay. Gonna have to shut that camera off if you're gonna sleep. Because I think I'm boring, I'm just like... but each and every one of you just know this, that if you continue to do things, it's not what's holding you back. It's what you believe that you're not. Listen to that closely. So as I was praying about this and thinking about this subject today, what I'm going to talk about tomorrow, how many of you believe that you might have a slight wrong belief about yourself when it comes to how valuable you are? Wow. So that came to me, right? So, you didn't do good in school. You didn't go to college.
Yay for me.
Then, yeah, Terry says yay for me. And so then all of a sudden, the world tells us that you're not very valuable. And I don't know where people get this, but they get it everywhere. Our youngest son, Kyle, is still at home. He's like a monk. And he's just an amazing human being. He really is. He thinks outside of his head more than anyone I know. but he has more common sense than anyone I know. It's got to be almost like it should be called uncommon sense. So you get more value and more credit for it. Because he's one of those people. I showed Terry a video yesterday, and this lady was going, "Let me tell you what wealth really is." And she just went on this rant about her husband.
She said it's
So
not yacht, it's not trips, it's. Go ahead.
yeah, and she just said, so all of a sudden the washer quits or the dryer quits. And immediately in my mind, I go, oh my God, we're going to have to buy a new one. How much does that cost? Blah, 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 blah. And then she goes, like, Terry goes, that's me. And then it's like, oh yeah, what was the thing that we said the other day? And oh, about the lawnmower. Yeah. And Kyle went, well, this happened to the lawnmower. And she goes, I can't. I can't. You know what I mean? Because she immediately thinks it's going to cost money, right? And of course, Kyle and I figured it out and fixed it, no problem. It was a $1.13 bolt, but it was a pain in the ass that it did break. Um, but the point is that in this video it said that the guy said she said, my husband, it's almost like a challenge. He was like, listen, let me look at it. And then he buys, $30 worth of parts, works on it for an hour or so, and everything is okay. And I'm that guy. I really am. Anything that breaks, like my son yesterday, something happened with grandma's watering system and a pipe broke, but it broke off inside of a fitting. So Kyle was like, how do I get this out of this fitting? And I was like, I'll show you. A little sawzall, cut in two places, hit it with a screwdriver, knocked it out. Hey, it's all okay. Even had the right part in one of my bags that I never throw away. and this brings me to another totally different subject, which is really, 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 really powerful. As I've said this before, but you guys will love this. But if you've ever seen, you can Google it, or you don't have to Google it. Jim Williamson would, but because me and him send each other stuff like this. But if you've ever seen the size of motors in cruise ships, you would be like blown away how big these motors are. They're like the size of a house, right? But when you think about all the containers that it holds and how much, a total freighter going back and forth, across the ocean to different countries, it's amazing not only how much they cost, but how much, all the freight that they have, right? So one of the freighter motors wouldn't start. And so this guy chews this guy out that's supposed to be the maintenance part. And he's like, hey, listen, it's costing $100,000 a day for that ship sitting there. Get a mechanic and get it fixed. And so he calls one guy, and the guy spends all day, can't figure out how to do it. And the guy's going, okay, that's 200,000. And then he got another guy, he couldn't fix it. And so another 100,000. So he calls both guys back and he goes, don't you guys know anyone that would fix this? And they're like, yeah, you need to call Bob Johnson. Bob Johnson would know how to fix it. And they're going, yeah. And the guy goes, but you're going to be a little blown away with what he cost. So the guy calls Bob Johnson, listen, we got in trouble with this motor. Can you come out and fix it? And the guy's going, yeah. He said, I don't charge by the hour. It's 35,000 flat rate. And he goes, if I don't fix it, you don't pay me. And he goes, well, that's a lot of money. And he goes, what does it cost nowadays? Is it still 75,000 or is it more a day that the ship's sitting on the dock? And the guy goes, it's 100,000. He goes, you already spent 300,000. You're complaining about my 35,000? And he goes, okay, come out. And the guy walks directly to a part of the motor, has a special tool, pulls this thing out, and then he takes his screwdriver and pulls this pin out, and he uses some spray that he had, like a air spray that he like sprayed through it, and this little like rock thing came out. And then he run, like a little cleaner through there, and then he put the needle back in there, and then he screwed it back in, and he tried to start it, and it started right up. And he goes, that took less than 5 minutes. He said, again, I told you, you're not paying for me by the hour. You're paying for my experience. You're paying for my value, what I'm worth. I didn't cost you another $100,000 today. And so that's such a great story, because tomorrow I want to go in a little more depth on that, on how you could figure out your value. So just like yesterday when we talked about it, it's like, if you really knew that you were a miracle and how unique you are, how much does I don't know if you guys seen this, it was all over the news, but that new baseball player that plays for the LA Dodgers, you can Google it, but
You talking about Shohei Ohtani?
yeah, but they had like his rookie card or something that they deliberately put in all the card decks from this company. And they're estimating that whoever finds it in the deck, that it could be worth anywhere from $1 million to $3 million.
Oh, we're going to buy some baseball cards.
Or someone already found it.
Fuck.
All right. But it's like Willy Wonka and the gold ticket. You know what I mean? It's like really, really amazing. But why would that baseball card be so worth so much? Why is a stamp worth so much? Why is a Pokemon card? How many of you guys have seen a piece of art or a statue and you're looking at it and you find out it goes for...
They've used old paper towels.
Yeah, you're just like going...
Make $1 million.
That does not look like art, right? And we'll talk about this more tomorrow, because if you really knew how valuable you are, then you're going to start attracting that income. Because money is a tool. Money is just vibration. Money is just frequency. But a lot of people don't know that. So what you do is you say, well, it's pretty obvious that some people get involved in entrepreneurship and make trillions of dollars. Can you imagine we can say that now? I sent Craig, a graphic today. And do you guys know that there's that SpaceX starting today has a rocket going in the air like 4 or 5 times in the next 7 days? And no one's even paying attention to it. It's like, it used to be a big thing for a rocket launch. You know what I mean? But here was the schedule so far today. And of course, it was a couple hours ago. But, one today, and then I always, when I open up a graphic, this thing purposely pops up in front of it. So then one on the 5th tomorrow, then one on the 8th, one on the 10th, one on the 11th. I guess 2 of them, back to back. And he's saying that one day in the future, that there'll be 7 to 8 a day. They'll have 7 to 8 launches a day. And so there's a lot of stuff that is going on that people don't even realize is going on, right? But let's go back to some of the things, because if you guys have probably heard the story, but I'll be really brief with it. It was my first big job after, moving from, Montana to California, and I'm around Roger Penske. And your job is here's a multi-billionaire. He's still making, money and breaking records even after even after I've left him. He's probably tripled his wealth since I've left him. And he always asked people to contribute. And what I did is I contributed something And then he immediately taught me one of my first big lessons, which he just said, well, Bobby, tell me how you know that. And I remember like it was yesterday. I was like, what do you mean? How do I know that? Well, you're sharing with me and this whole entire team. How do you know what you said is true? Factual. And I heard it. I overheard it by two other people on another race car team. And so I immediately realized that I didn't know it as fact. And then he really taught me a lesson by saying, can you imagine if we did what you said and, one of the racers wrecked their car, making their wife a widow and children, fatherless. And then because of our not focusing on the right thing to do with the car, we lose our $1 million sponsorships. And then everyone in here loses their job, so they can't provide for their family. I mean, he just made sure that I think and do a little bit of research before I say something. And how many of you know people that because I always follow up with this, is, when I first got a computer and I first got, you got mail, on AOL. And then all of a sudden someone sent me an email that said for every time I forwarded this email that $1 would be sent to me by Bill Gates, or $5 or $10. And I bit into that hook, line, and sinker. And then all of a sudden, when I found out, getting an email back from somebody that was totally bullshit, that it was just made up, then I spent the next probably hour or so, writing an email back to everyone I emailed, telling them I'm sorry. And not to get into any political stuff right now, but, it is pretty interesting to see people that are coming out actually apologizing and asking for forgiveness for people that they berated during the COVID stuff. You know what I mean? And everyone's got their different thoughts about that. But I think it was pretty interesting when I seen that Smith guy and a couple of other people that just came out and said, you know what? I was all over some of these athletes that decided not to get vaccinated. And I openly on television, said how awful people that they are. And I'm sorry. And there are some people going, well, how do you know that what went through COVID? How do you know that it wasn't true? And it's like, the guy was such a narcissist, he wrote a diary. And people, so if you even heard his opening statement, well, so of course he said 111 times, I'm not going to say, because of the fifth, I'm going to plead the fifth. But his open statement, he said that it was his diary. So he's never ever said that it wasn't his diary. So if he writes things in the diary that's not the same that everyone was told to do, like make sense, make sure that you're 6 feet away, that if you get the shot, you'll never catch it. You know what I mean? There was a lot of things, Terry. I remember Terry not only with the mask, but we would get delivered stuff at home and she's out there, spraying it down with Lysol or whatever, wiping down the packages.
I only did that twice. And when we moved out to California, I went into Target and they're like, you got to put your mask on. So I put my mask on. The minute I walked past him, I took my mask off. Someone has to tell me later to put my mask on. I'll put it on. The minute I walk past you, I'm taking it.
So, I'm not here to debate the truth. It's I would like every one of you to do what I try to do, my very, very best. One thing that I know for a fact, a total fact, I can disprove every one of you with the next statement that I say. Here's what I know about COVID. I don't know. That's a fact. And I can prove it to you that I don't know. Isn't that funny saying that? I can prove to you without a shadow of a doubt that I don't know everything that had to do with the virus, how many people, blah, 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 blah. But then there becomes another point that I think is very important, is that you guys hear how important it is to try to not spend any time on things that you can't control.
Like the news.
right? So if you can't control it, wouldn't it be neat or it wouldn't be neat for you to get in discussions about stuff about COVID when you can honestly admit to yourself that you don't know, but yet you want to get on and have arguments with people that also believe that they're a know-it-all? Do any of you know people that are know-it-alls? They're right fighters. You know, it's crazy. When I heard this too, was part of how do you know that? It's like when you know people that are right fighters and they'll fight for their right to be right and they'll keep fighting. I know none of you guys know any people that have done this. Ready? Is as you're having a debate or a heated discussion with someone, it clicks in your head and in your heart that you are fucking wrong. It just all of a sudden just comes to you and you're just like, ah. So you know what you do then? You tell them that you didn't understand what they were talking about. You changed the subject. How many of you, hey, I'm going to be bold and honest and say that I've done that, because the person that I debate the most with is Matt. And when Matt's got me and he doesn't know that he's got me, then the next statement that he'll say is I go, oh, I thought you meant this. Hey, you sure don't want to admit that someone beat you in a debate or a discussion. So that's called a right fighter. You know what I mean? And then there's just people out there that are just constantly, which is a new thing in the world, called a troll. And how many of you are really starting to understand that the majority of the stuff that we see on social media, which Matt has talked about, is just something to bait you? There's a new phrase. I don't know if I've said it to you guys. They're actually called rage merchants.
Yeah, they caught me.
Rage merchants. And rage merchants is they say something that is so out there. And then when you look at it, it's always the rest of the story is in the first comment. You know what I mean? And who all of a sudden noticed that virtually, I don't know who bought into this when you ask, how do you know that? Here's another thing I know that people do not know. It's a funny statement that I'm going to say right now. How many of you sometimes know things you don't know for a fact, but you just know, right? It's like you're going, wait a minute, this is not making, any sense here. So this whole concept about, rage merchants will say something that is a straight out lie so that you'll click on it, you'll get mad, then you look at the first comment, some people post, and that makes the engagement bigger, and then it just, goes out there and does, makes them money. So they're calling these people now just straight out rage merchants, right? And also trolls. But do you guys know what's two things that I'm seeing on the social media right now that I don't know this for a fact? I just know. Is one day someone clicked on someone's post and it said, see more. And they clicked on it. And now everybody has to write a couple of chapters of a book for each post.
Oh my God.
What the fuck is that?
I don't have patience for.
So someone must have did it. And now I'm seeing these posts and I go, wow, that's a pretty good 2 lines. And I click on more and then I see it's a couple of, and what I think it is I just think it's someone going, hey, can you write me a nice little story with AI about this post? Or they're just copying and pasting somebody else's post? Because here's really what they're trying to figure out is how many people have seen this post. This is a good one. Can everyone please respond to my post so I can reset my algorithm?
Yeah. Can you say hi? No. No.
I'm telling you guys, listen to me. I guess I could do some research, but there's not a human being that's figuring out an AI algorithm. Does this make sense to you guys? It'd be like me making a post saying, hey, listen, if you guys give me enough votes on my post, I can beat the AI at chess. And you're going, you can't beat AI on chess, you idiot. You know, what are you, stupid? You know what I mean? But people still keep posting that. So how many of you guys have seen people that just repost what other people post? If there's anything that I've done with Terry, is sometimes here's one thing that Terry does to me that triggers me because she still bites in a lot of things. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. But Terry gets very, very excited about other people's success. So I'll just be minding my own business and I'll go up there and I go, what are you doing? She goes, oh my God, I just seen this person. They're making $2 trillion a day. We should find out what they're doing. And I'm like, well, they said they're making a lot of money and everybody's saying they're making money. And it's like, you should look at this. And I'm going like, how do you know they're making money? Well, it looks like it, you know, it's like, and, you know, there is a little problem of my ego with her doing that. And that's why it triggers me. It's not,
That's not me.
it's not her fault. It's my fault, right? Because I'm like going, hey, I've made pretty good money. Why can't we do what I think we should do? No. Do you see what John's doing? Do you see what Nadia's doing? Do you see what Ray's doing? Do you see what they? It's like I'm like going, oh, did you see this person? And I'm going like, I don't give a shit about what other people are doing. And the reason I don't is I'm not trying to take away your enthusiasm or excitement, but I'm like going, you really don't know what they're making. They won't show you. They won't show their deposits. You know, if you ask them to, hey, listen, can I do a quick Zoom with you? You know, so let's do a quick Zoom and let's log into your banking account and let me see your deposits in your banking account. They're not going to do that. But isn't this a crazy industry, entrepreneurship, where we can just constantly, there's a group of people out there that I think this is hilarious. There's a whole group of people out there that are going, what an idiot Elon Musk is. Do you see that he's lost $350 billion? And I'm going, so he's worth 700 billion? He's worth more than the next four underneath him combined? See, it's a big deal for us to say that he was a trillionaire. No, he was a 1.3 trillionaire. That's crazy. 1.3 trillion. Just a 300 billion, he was worth more than the second. But no, he's got another trillion on that. But the stock took a correction, and now he's an idiot. I bet you he loves it. Because when he was a billionaire, everyone was out to get him. Now all of a sudden he's worth 700 billion. He's like a nobody. I think he really, hey, he's not even a trillionaire anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, how stupid is this idiot? But again, going back to the whole topic of how do you know that? Just ask yourself. And before I close this out, you know, what about, you know, things that you believe? And I just ask myself, you guys know I do this. I just say, where did I get that? Why do I think that? Where did that come from? You know, because if you hear any kind of hyper enthusiasm, right? We're the fastest growing company. Right now, we're the fastest growing company. You don't even know all the companies. How can someone say we got the most lucrative comp plan? We have the #1 product on the planet, you know? And it's like, that's impossible to know. But it seems like everyone's okay lying and everyone gets away with it because Ford is #1. And so is General Motors. And so is Chrysler. How many people know what I'm talking about? If you see their company, they're #1. But what you don't know is you don't see the little print on the bottom. And it's on the bottom, we're #1 again. We're #1 again. and the Baker family in Wisconsin. You look at all the small stuff, and it's like, again, we got the Baker family to buy a new Ford, so we're number one with the Baker family. And so the other things is all the things that you think of. Like I watched a little funny thing the other day, and I just thought it was so hilarious. Is that when the experts? That's going to be the new word out there, right? Look at the science, follow the experts. And one of the things that a lot of you know about me, but if you didn't, I want to tell you, is that I'm really excited because one of these rockets from Tesla that's going up is taking up a new telescope that makes the Hubble look like it's not a telescope. So they're already saying some pictures. Can you guys imagine this? So I say this all the time, but when I went to school, they had in the classroom like this baby thing. What do they call it? Where it's,
Mobile.
the mobile or whatever, like the little toy they play with when they're in the crib.
Mobile, yeah.
Yeah. So, they had all the planets on it and how they fit in the solar system. And then it was after I got out of school that all of a sudden some people came out and go, well, based on our classifications, Neptune isn't a planet, it's a star. All right. So, okay. Okay. Now it's like, well, we just don't have, one galaxy. We now have 1,000 galaxies. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, no, we have a billion galaxies. Now with the first shot, they're saying with this new telescope, it's going to show that the planet Earth is in a galaxy or universe of 1 billion galaxies, but now it's in a small place, and now they're seeing the rest of them, which is just infinity. You know what I mean? So, all this stuff as they keep finding new ways to measure light and be able to look into space, and the longer the telescope is out there, the more they see. So now all of a sudden, if you Googled or even AI and just said how many, Craig, do this for me while I'm talking. It's like how many planets have they discovered? As of right now, how many planets has science discovered? And for those of you that have been around me a long time, I always bring this up, but Neil deGrasse Tyson, I haven't asked that question in a long time.
Yeah, okay. There's
too many zeros, too many
well,
numbers?
it's interesting. It says 6,316 exoplanets, planets outside our solar system, okay? 8 planets within our home solar system. Pluto is not one of them. Neptune is.
Okay.
4,725 planetary systems have been found holding the thousands of other planets we have spotted so far, and 1,055 systems contain more than just one single planet orbiting their star.
Gee whiz. Yeah, so it's starting to multiply and multiply and multiply, right? And so when I seen this interview with Neil deGrasse Tyson, he just wrote a new book. And that's when, while he was explaining his book, is not only did they know what dark matter was, which is like the largest percentage of everything, but now there's dark energy. And now they're watching it and getting closer to it. So it's like there was this thought that stuff blew away from exploding stars, the concept of Big Bang, right? But now they know that all of it that you see is flying through space. It's like there's nothing setting still. The sun is not setting still while Earth and other planets go around it and the moon goes around to Earth. While this is all happening, it's all flying somewhere. And here's the other thing. It's picking up speed. so so when people can't explain dark energy, and now it's such a common phrase that you can Google it or AI it and say, tell me what dark energy is. And I never even thought about this until I'm saying it right now. The topic today is, how do you know that? And when you can ask AI a question and it goes, I don't know. Here it is at, right now, there's people that are arguing whether or not that it's hit the spot already of knowing more than all the people on the planet combined. Everyone's saying that it's already been there and it's already there for a while. But it's like, they can't explain what dark energy is. So what'd you put here? Can you read it for me?
Yeah, dark energy is a mysterious, repulsive force that makes the universe expand faster and faster. It makes up about 68 to 72% of everything in the universe.
Now, did you get that from AI?
Google AI.
Google AI. Ask Google AI, what do you think dark energy is? So, so the reason that I'm bringing this all up is if you started to question everything you thought, because again, there's nothing holding you back. Again, like I say, that everything's the opposite of what we thought, right? So just look at everything and you go, a lot of people go, I'm missing something. I'm missing something. No, you're fucking not. I don't know something. That's not true. You do know it. You just haven't asked for it and accepted it. There's something wrong with me. No, there's not anything wrong with you. You're unique. You're a miracle. You're created. There's nothing created or destroyed. You just have to find it. You just got to reach inside yourself and make it happen. So what if you spent your entire life constantly saying, but I need a minute of your time? I know people all over the world that just constantly, they just said, if I can just have one more second of your time, if I can just have one more minute of your time, I have one more minute of your time. I just need one more minute of your time. And they're stuck in that loop because they don't know how to ask their self or the energy or God for the answer. Now, let me really mess with your head. Ready? Okay. What if you ask the question and the universe knows your journey and God has a direction and a plan for you to go? So the answer that you would get is not the answer I would get. Let me explain. If you're surrendering and asking for a direction to go, universe, I'm surrendering, use my mind, my thoughts, my energy, my vibration, my physical body. I surrender it all. I surrender it all. I want to follow your will for me. And then you go, should I go down this direction? And it's like, no. But my journey, I'm going down that. See, if your path was so unique, why are you listening and asking for other people's answers to your questions? I'll tell you right now, it's the stupidest damn thing you could do, is asking people what to do. And you know what a perfect example is? When I talked about this, I didn't know I'd talk about most of the stuff I shared with you. Do you guys believe that my incredible son, Matthew, and his journey, do you think that Matt's seen where he would be where he is right now? The answer is no. Because he keeps getting new pieces to the puzzle every frickin' day. And when he gets these new pieces of puzzle, how many of you guys have done a puzzle? If you've ever done a puzzle, as you're getting the pieces, now all of a sudden the vision comes in. Now all of a sudden you're looking at Deborah Grady's grandson loves doing puzzles. You know what I mean? He's autistic, so he's like a master at it. He can grab a piece and knows where it goes in the middle. You know what I mean? So imagine this. Max sees it, and he makes a decision to do AI upline. That's not the direction that he needs to go. Why did he do it? Well, it was the first person that said they had a great idea. So Matt goes, wow, that's a great idea. Well, I don't know if it is, but I'll build it. And then find out that no one's marketing it. Why is no one marketing it? I don't know, and I don't care. But you immediately see that you're not getting blessed. You're not getting fortunate. It's not the way you should go. So Matt creates something else, and it's like, and I was going, how would you guys love to create something in 2 months? It has absolutely nothing to do with anything. There's still people reaching out to Matt going, I can't understand how to use AI upline. And it's like, Matt's on a totally different galaxy right now. And then people, yeah, AI posting pilot, the same thing. Matt said that, wow, now the things, so Craig and I, and some of you guys get to see it, Matt is simply just telling AI what to do with no prompts no more. How many of you guys remember that you spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to properly prompt something? AI doesn't give a shit anymore. And so you could get frustrated by that, or you could get excited about that. I didn't know what it was like to drive a Tesla before I drove a Tesla. But I still didn't know what it would be like to own one. And when we talk about how do you know that, again, the three groups of people, there's a large group of people, 30%, I don't know, I don't care. I'm not involved in the discussion. I don't give a shit. I don't want to be involved. But do you guys realize that there's 30% of people out there on the planet right now that will tell you buying a Tesla is the stupidest fucking thing you could ever do in your life? And then they'll just rattle off a bunch of facts that are just straight out fucking lies. Why are they telling lies? Well, one group makes them up because they're rage merchants. They're trolls. But then they don't realize how many people share that stuff. I seen an interview with Elon Musk, if you guys, Matt brought it up, I think yesterday. And when you know stuff, and like you really can really get somebody really bad, right? So this lady said, well, the reason that cities in the United States are more violent than they are in Europe is because of guns. Your guys' Second Amendment that allows everyone to have guns. And he goes, really? He goes, here's another fact for you. Do you know that more people die for not having air conditioning in Europe than America kills with guns? And she goes, what? And he goes, think about that. That your country is not smart enough to make sure that elderly people have air conditioning. So when you hear facts like that, you go, wow, more people die in Europe from heat and not having air conditioning than the United States kills with guns? Isn't that something where you just go crazy, you know? And so as soon as she goes, wow, is that true? And he goes, yeah, not only is it true, but the United States has 120 million more people than you guys do. It's like, stop saying that our country is more violent when you guys kill people because you can't get people to get air conditioning. You know, but again, how do you know that is such a key point in your life? You just really got to do it. And so the last story I want to share you what got this topic is Terry was the one that said, you know, you should bring this up. So can you guys, if you guys will allow me, oh, I just thought you guys don't have a choice. I guess you could leave, but okay, so something was exposed to me about 2 or 3 months ago is the first time I seen it. But now it's really gathering traction, right? So how many of you have seen at least the advertisement of the Matrix when you're seeing all the green? I think that Matt actually made a trailer, didn't he? Didn't he make? Sandy's going, yeah. But you know, it's all this dots, these zeros and ones that are flying in the back of the scene, what looks like code. You know what I mean? So you see all this code, right, that's happening. And so there's this guy, he helps people use DMT. Okay. And so when they do it, he said that on one of the things that they were doing, that there was just a light reflecting on the wall. And so the person looked over at the wall where the light was, and they walk up to it, and of course they're tripping, right? Can you imagine? And they walk up and they started looking into the wall. And when he looked into the wall, he could see this matrix stuff inside the wall. And you could actually see through the wall. So now they found a way to change the frequency of a light, and they're using red laser. And when they use a red laser light, they can put it on the wall and then pull it backwards. You said he's using a laser that's like $15, that you could buy from Amazon. And he pulls it back till it gets like 6 inches on the wall. And he says when you're doing DMT, you can look at the laser and you can see the matrix code flying behind the wall, which would basically sort of say that we're like in an assimilation like the Matrix, right? So this is pretty crazy and out there, but there's this video. So you guys, if you ask for it, I'll send it to you. But I seen this Ryan guy do a video with this guy, and I don't remember the guy's name. I apologize. But if you reach out to me, I'll send it to you.
I have it.
But okay, great. But
Danny Gola.
This guy is known as the guy that, finds people that are spreading bullshit. And he goes after them, right? So when he heard this story, he actually flew the guy, to where he is and says, listen, I don't do drugs. But I need to see if this is bullshit or not. Well, long story short, he sees it too. So now here's what everybody says when they go through it and see it. Are you guys ready? When they see it and they go through it, is they now know that they know that they know that they don't know a frickin' thing. How would you guys like to be exposed to something that you immediately go, holy shit, everything that I know in my life's not true? Where do you think you would set with that? It's like, why is all this stuff just all of a sudden dropping? So when Matt says, hey, there's absolutely no need for a job or money, and everyone's going to be okay. And for us to go into our mind and go, that there's bullshit there. There's something wrong with that. Well, the reason that They know AI is going to do this, but no one really knows, but they sort of know that they know. Does this make sense to you guys? Right? It's like you go, ah, man, if you would have told me, that I would see in my lifetime robots doing everything that a human's doing. Yeah, that sort of Jetson stuff, right? I didn't really think I was going to see that. Yeah. So I watched this, and as I watched it, then he brought the guy on that actually, hey, if you guys want to go on this trip, you can schedule the trip and go see it yourself, right? But this guy's now taking it further. So the people that he's got, he said he's had way over 1,000 emails of people that did this and seen the same thing. But now what they're doing with AI is they're taking it a little further. So now they're measuring people's brain waves while they're wearing, Apple Vision. And while they're looking at it, they're asking the person, do you see what is this symbol? And they show them where it is. And people are looking where they're instructed to look, and they're going, yeah, I see that symbol. And then they ask them a multiple choice question is, what symbol does it look the most like? And people that are seeing the digitized information moving are seeing the same character. So he said, how they really mess people up is now if people go through the same experience, but they're experiencing the same thing and they're seeing the same characters. And he says they look like Japanese,
Kanji.
Okay, like how they write their letters, but he's had people that know Japanese and they're going like, nah, I can't get any of it. But the only reason that I brought this up is Terry thought it would be a good subject, but it does go to the same place as the dark energy, right? Is that there's, excuse me, that there's all this stuff going around us, including trying to figure out our connection to that. That the more that you realize that you don't know, the more you get into the realm of spirituality that you don't know, but it's better. Because here's the way I look at it. Whatever that is, I want to surrender to it. I want to be guided by it. If it's got a direction for me because of my uniqueness, if it created my DNA, I want to go on the path where I can be blessed. And instead of going to the place where I feel resistance. Because I don't think the Abraham Hickses of the world, or the Rhonda Burns, or the Sandy Bakers of the world, I don't think they're crazy. I think they're just I just think that they're doing the best that they can with the understanding that they have. Right? And then there's other people that sit around and go, that's bullshit. See what I mean? It's like exactly what they used to say about chiropractors, exactly what they used to say about acupuncture. See what I mean? There's all these things out there that people think that are bullshit because they're not just willing to go, what if I'm just an unaware person? Unaware or ignorant is not a bad word. It just means that you don't know that you don't know. But what if you don't think you're valuable? You don't think you're a miracle? I think that if some of you, if we could hear some of the mental stuff that's going on in your mind, you're not only beating yourself up, but you actually think you're stupid. You think that, not only do you think that you're stupid, but you think that it'll take you forever to figure anything out. Me and Lisa Maria were going back privately on some things. And she's going, "Hey, I'm just so glad that we're friends and I love you and I thank you for being around for me. And I'm really, really sorry that it's going to take me forever to figure this out." And I'm just going, why in the fuck am I working with that? My first thought was, why would I want to waste any time with Lisa Marie if she's never going to figure it out? Because she says it's going to take forever. So, no, I'm not an asshole. I love her. And so I said, "Hey, Lisa Marie, is there a way that we can change the word forever in your vocabulary?" It's like,
It'll
I'm getting,
take me a minute. It'll
yeah,
take me a minute to figure this out.
believe it or not, faith is speaking things that are not as if they were. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get this. It's going to happen really quick. I get gooder and gooder every day in every way. It's like if you listen to a lot of the stuff that people speak into existence, Terry listens to an audio every night before we go to bed.
For 30 minutes or 32 minutes.
Yeah, and it doesn't.
A bunch of money. That.
I am rich.
Yep.
I am rich. I am wealthy. I'm very good with money.
I love money.
And
money loves me.
Money loves me. See, it's like I'll never figure this out. So sometimes I think that I don't think I know that until you say that you know that you don't know and you're okay with that, then it's going to allow you to be able to have the freedom to actually figure out where you need to go. Is that fair? So I only brought that stuff up. Go ahead, Craig.
Oh no, finish up what you were saying because I wanted to follow up with what you asked for earlier.
I'm done.
Okay. You asked if I would look up what do you think dark energy is to an AI. Okay, I did to Google AI. It gave me the same answer. But when I went to my ChatGPT, here's what it says. My honest take, dark energy may not be a thing in the usual sense. It's a name we've given to whatever is causing the expansion of the universe to accelerate. My best guess, there's the word, is that it's a property of empty space itself. So my blunt answer after going through an explanation, this is still my ChatGPT, dark energy is probably either the intrinsic energy of space or evidence that our understanding of gravity is incomplete.
Wow. You guys know I'm a geek. You guys know I'm a geek from the Dork Force. Here's a question for you. How far away from Earth do you have to go before there's zero gravity? It's a trick question. Because you keep going away from the Earth, even if you're 250 miles, 500 miles, you still have a little bit of the Earth's gravity still pulling on you. So the only time you get to zero is never. Because when you get far enough away from Earth where there's no gravity pull, you're actually getting gravity pull from the sun or the moon. So as you're going through space, and you get finally out of the zero gravity of the Earth, now you're in some gravitational pull of something else. Hey, that some of you like Terry just didn't change anything in her life. Poor Terry.
I'll be surprised.
Poor Terry's had to listen to her husband give her a hard drive of a bunch of information that she'll never use. But hey, at least he listens to me, and it makes me feel like, hey, someone actually listens.
I'm a good listener. Let me just.
You're an awesome listener, and it's usually when I'm looking at her and explaining these stuff, it always looks like when I look in her eyes that they're very squinty. Can anyone of you tell me when your eyes are glossed over and you're like this? What does that mean? Because I think she's getting it.
I'm stoned. it. That's it. I'm set.
So she looks at me with this big smile on her face, and I'm going, hey, it must make sense to her. You know what I mean? So I love you guys. I appreciate you. Tomorrow we'll talk about your value. But please, please, please work on this. What if your default was really, I don't know. Thank you, Lisa Marie. I don't know. Maybe I should lean on something that does. So thank you, Jim. I'm glad that Jim got up from a nap.
All went into his subconscious.
Yeah, he was listening, man. He was soaking it all
There
in.
you go.
But thank you, Star. Thank you, Shelly, Dustin, Melody, Jim, Mary, Coach Bob, Lisa Marie, Deborah, Mike and Angela, Sandy, Terry, the hostess with the mostest. I'm so glad, Coach Bob, that this was great information. I didn't want you to learn it from a replay, so I'm glad that you were able to stay awake. You know what I mean? So that's
Give him one of these. Say, see this? Right there.
I love you guys. See you soon. Bye for now. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.